Happy Sabbath, everyone.
Happy Sabbath.
Be like Jesus, this my song, in the home and in the throng. Be like Jesus all day long. I would be like Jesus. Ellen G. White stated in The Desire of Ages that in doing as Jesus did when on earth, we shall walk in his steps. Please stay with us as we go through this week's lesson entitled To Serve and to Save.
Our memory text is taken from Isaiah 42 verse 1. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my elect one in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him, and he will bring forth justice to the Gentiles.
Sabbath Afternoon. Many feel that it would be a great privilege to visit the scenes of Christ's life on earth, to walk where he trod, to look upon the lake beside which he loved to teach, and the hills and valleys on which eyes so often rested. But we need not go to Nazareth, to Capernaum, or to Bethany in order to walk in the steps of Jesus. Isaiah spoke of a servant of the Lord with a similar mission of mercy.
Sunday, Servant Nation, Isaiah chapter 41. God assures Israel that the nation is still the servant of the Lord. I have chosen you and not cast you off, Isaiah 41 verse 9. Then God gives to Israel one of the most magnificent promises in the Bible. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. Isaiah 41 verse 10. One of the basic roles of Israel is to trust the true God to save them rather than to trust in other gods and their images as other nations do.
Monday, Unnamed Individual Servant. Isaiah 41 verses 1 to 7. As in Isaiah 42, the Davidic ruler of Isaiah 11 acts in harmony with God, providing justice and deliverance for the oppressed, as well as wisdom and knowledge of God. We found that this shoot and root of Jesse is the Messiah, the divine child of Isaiah 9 verses 6 and 7, who also brings peace for the throne of David and his kingdom, with justice and with righteousness. The servant in Isaiah 42 is obviously the Messiah.
Tuesday, Persian Messiah, Isaiah chapter 44 verse 26 through 45 verse 6. The Hebrew word for anointed is the word from which we get the word Messiah. From Isaiah's perspective, Cyrus was a future king sent by God to deliver his people, but he was an unusual Messiah because he was non-Israelite. He would do some things the Messiah would do, such as defeat God's enemies and release his captive people, but he could not be the same as the Messiah because he was not a descendant from David.
Wednesday, Hope in Advance. The fact that Isaiah accurately predicted Cyrus by name disturbs people who do not believe that prophets receive predictions from God. Isaiah's basic message is consistent throughout his book. Trust the true God, including his messianic deliverer, rather than other powers. In fact, Isaiah's predictions of future comfort imply suffering in the meantime.
Thursday, a feeling and suffering servant, Isaiah 49 verses 1 through 12. God uses the servant to bring the nation of Israel back to himself, to be a light of salvation to all the world, to be a covenant, and to release prisoners. Isaiah 49 verse 7 is startling. The servant is deeply despised, abhorred by the nations, the slave of rulers. But the Lord says to him, Kings shall see and stand up. princes, and they shall prostrate themselves because of the Lord who is faithful, the Holy One of Israel who has chosen you.
Friday. Deliverance requires a deliverer. God's servant nation would be delivered by two deliverers. Cyrus, who would set the captives free from Babylonian exile, and an unnamed servant whose identity as the Messiah is progressively revealed. This servant would restore justice and bring the community of survivors back to God.
Have a happy Sabbath.